People laughed at her every day, not out loud, but with their eyes, with the way they stepped around her mop bucket like it didn't exist, with the way they tossed trash in front of her without even saying sorry. To them, she was just the cleaning lady. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't even imagine, was that the woman in the janitor's uniform used to sit in a big office, with her name on the door. Her name was Vanessa King, and years ago, she ran meetings in that same building. Until everything fell apart. It started when her mom got sick. Hospital bills stacked up. Her younger brother needed help with college. And Vanessa, no matter how smart or strong she was, couldn't hold it all together. One missed payment led to another. She lost her job, her savings, and finally, her apartment. But she didn't cry. She got to work. The only job she could find fast was as a janitor. And ironically, that job opened a door most people never noticed. Each night, after everyone went home, Vanessa cleaned empty boardrooms full of forgotten papers, half-drunk coffee cups, and whispers from the day. She kept her head down, but her eyes open. She saw things most janitors ignored, like company reports, notes scribbled on whiteboards, and confidential printouts tossed in trash bins. She started taking notes. Not the trash kind, business notes. And that's when she noticed something strange. There was a pattern in the reports she picked up. Sales numbers were off. Management had changed hands 3 times in 1 year. And late one night, she overheard 2 men in suits talking in the hallway near the elevator. "We're hanging on by a thread," one said. "We either sell or shut it all down." Vanessa paused, hidden behind the door, mop still in hand, heart pounding in her chest. They didn't know she was listening. They didn't care. They never did. That night, Vanessa went home, dropped her mop by the door, and opened her laptop. She pulled up everything she could on the company. Ownership history, shareholders, debt records. And that's when her plan began to form. She was no longer just a janitor. She was a silent witness to a company on the edge. And she was about to become its most unexpected savior. Vanessa didn't waste time. She knew the company, Burton and Rowe Logistics, was worth saving. But the people running it now, they were draining it like a leaking pipe. She'd worked there long enough to see what really went on. Fake deals, bad investments, and bosses who played golf more than they checked balance sheets. Vanessa didn't have money, yet. But she had something more valuable: information. Every night, she wrote down more. Which departments were failing? Which contracts were about to fall through? Who was secretly planning to jump ship? She took photos of tossed documents, studied their strategy like a soldier reading enemy maps. And then, she made her move. She reached out to a man she used to work for, Mr. Edward Hill, a retired investor who once said she had the sharpest mind he'd ever seen. At first, he didn't believe her. A janitor? Planning a takeover? But after she showed him the numbers, the breakdowns, and even the empty office leases, he leaned back in his leather chair and said, "I'll fund the first step. Let's see how far you can take it." Vanessa became a silent bidder. She used Edward's money to quietly buy small shares from frustrated employees, minor stakeholders, and retiring partners. Bit by bit, she built up power in the shadows. While the executives laughed at her mopping floors, she was buying the ground beneath their feet. But her time in the shadows was about to end. A month later, Burton and Rowe's leadership held an emergency auction to sell the company, quietly, before news leaked. They thought no one outside their circle would show. They were wrong. Vanessa walked into the boardroom. No mop this time, just a calm smile and a folder in her hand. Her suit was clean, pressed, and sharp. Her heels echoed on the floor. Every face turned toward her. "Excuse me," she said, looking at the auctioneer. "I'd like to place a bid." The room went silent. The CEO, Mr. Glenn Foster, laughed. "You're joking, right? This is a VIP auction." She smiled. "Oh, I know. That's why I brought my seat with me." She handed over her paperwork. Edward had matched her funds for a full acquisition bid. And when the numbers hit the screen, even the board members gasped. Vanessa had just become the majority owner of the company she once cleaned. One day, Vanessa was in her uniform, wiping down glass doors. The next, she was holding the keys to the entire building. The very same people who ignored her now opened doors for her, stood up when she walked in, and stammered awkward greetings. But she wasn't bitter. She didn't fire anyone out of spite. She didn't scream or throw power around. She simply got to work. First, she let go of the top-level executives who tanked the company, politely but firmly. Then she called back a few former employees who were smart, loyal, and overlooked, just like she once was. Vanessa rebuilt the company with the same care she once used to clean it. And the funny part? Some of the same people who laughed at her job now work for her. One day, Glenn Foster, the ex-CEO, walked in with a shaky hand and asked if she'd consider keeping him on as an advisor. Vanessa looked at him, then smiled kindly. "I already have a team that listens and learns," she said. "We're good." That afternoon, she walked to the top floor, the office with the best view, and sat behind her desk. Her nameplate read, Vanessa King, owner and CEO. She looked out the window, thinking back to the janitor's closet where it all started. Then she turned to the camera for your video ending and said, "They laughed at my job, but that job taught me everything I needed to buy this place. Never underestimate the one you ignore." If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. Comment below if you've ever been underestimated. Your voice matters here. And remember, respect everyone, because you never know who's about to own the room.